AM net will begin in approximately 5 minutes. KC9UDX net control here. The amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in the AM mode, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you're transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a few kcs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection. That is demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UD9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any nations wishing to check in, please come now.
Good evening, Matt, W9JCC.
Hey, Ron, KD9JCC, K9TNN. Ron, you can't hear me? Hello.
Well, I'm going to recognize Frank, W9JCC. I'm not sure who else we've got there. Do we have somebody else who wants to check into the 2 a.m. net, or are we interrupting somebody else's QSO here? If we are, let me know. We'll move.
November.
Do you hear K9TNN there, Matt?
A little bit. I think I can hear him, but I think I'm transmitting on top of him whenever he's transmitting.
Okay, I think he's coming through here pretty good. So I was trying to find his name here. I think K9. Oh, it's Nick. That would be Nick. Yeah, go ahead there, Matt, and see if he copies your W9JCC.
Okay, Nick, K9TNN, is that correct?
I just barely got him, Ron, thanks. Just tell him it was Nick, the electrician from work, checking in.
Nick said it's just the electrician from work checking in there, Matt. Go ahead.
All right. Trying to think if I know a Nick. And I don't think I do. But that, I do work with quite a few electricians. So I apologize, Nick, if I can't think of who you are right now. But I do hear you pretty well. I don't know if you can hear me real well. Let's see if we have any more check-ins, though. Anybody else wants to check into the 2 a.m. net, come now, please. All right, hearing none, we will go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC, what's new with you this month?
Okay, thank you, Matt. KC9UDX, net control. This is W9JCC. Not too much. We had a picnic on Saturday for the Westside Radio Club, so we went to that. Beautiful last couple of days here. Trying to spend a little more time outside, although it wasn't real successful, but we have Winnie and I sat out in the shade here for a little bit this afternoon, just enjoying the good weather. And yeah, Nick is, I've heard him check into either the Wednesday night net or the Friday night 10-meter net, one of the two or both. And so it's too bad that you can't hear each other too well. Not a whole lot more. How about you there, Matt? I'll turn it back to you, KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And yeah, we've had some excellent weather. Unfortunately, the mosquitoes like it too. Well, I shouldn't say it's excellent. It's great, but it'd be a lot nicer, I guess, if it was less humid, and that's, of course, the reason why we have all these mosquitoes. But I for one, am very glad that the temperatures have fallen. I couldn't take it much longer. And I took advantage of the weather this last weekend, and I got one of the 3 major things that I absolutely have to get done by winter done. I fixed up my upper roof. I replaced the ridge vent along the entire length, and I replaced a few missing shingles, and I patched up where the flashing goes around the chimney. But I did manage to have a wasp go up my pant leg while I was doing that, and it stung me about 5 times on the knee. Anyway, I also forgot to mention, of course, this is September 11th. They call it Patriot Day now, I guess. I hadn't heard that until earlier today. Maybe that's official now. I'm not sure. But of course, none of us have forgotten, and we certainly haven't forgotten how much different life is now. But don't want to go on too much about that. Uh, what else was I going to say? I don't quite recall. So let's see. Nick, if you can hear me, and you'd like to continue here, go right ahead. K9TNN, I'll give you a turn from KC9UDX.
Go ahead, Nick, if you're there.
I'm listening, but I just can't copy anybody else but UDX and you, and UDX barely. So thanks, Ron. Tell Matt I could hang around afterwards for a call on FM or sideband or something, but I just can't make a copy of anybody else but you and barely UDX. K9TNN, thank you, Ron.
All right, thank you, Nick. I don't know that I'll have too much time to stick around at the end of the net, but we will see. I don't think I have anything else here set up that I can actually use besides this this frequency in AM right now. I could probably conjure something together here, but I just don't have the time tonight. And still struggling to imagine who you are here. And I deeply apologize for that. The only thing I can think is you must be second shift. I don't know too many of the second shift guys. But we're at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Well, I don't hear anybody, so Frank, if you do, please let me know. Otherwise, it's your turn again. W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, Matt, thanks. And yeah, you might mention to Nick there about YouTube, and I forgot exactly. I guess, what did? I just went to YouTube and put in your call, and the site came up. So if you're copying there, Nick, I think Matt is streaming the 2 a.m. net live on YouTube, so you can probably hear him on that. And generally, it's just a few tenths of a second or a second delayed, so it usually works pretty decent. Boy, too bad about getting stung in the knee. I think you said three or five times there. Matt, I imagine there's a real temptation to itch that knee. Boy, that doesn't sound like much fun. And Nick, if you're copying, my name is Frank, and I don't know who Ron is. So I'm thinking that's just a slip of the tongue there. And let's see. Well, I've been doing a little bit of HF. I got on last night. I noticed that on 20 meters, if you get on there around 10, between 9:30 and 10:30 in the evening, and point the antenna to New Zealand, those guys are usually there. There's usually one or two that are on at that time of night. I talked to one guy there on the North Island for about 10-15 minutes last night. They had pretty good signals both ways. So, back to net control, KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And yeah, Nick, if you can hear me, we do have a YouTube live stream. If you go to YouTube, search for KC9UDX. Unfortunately, YouTube makes it a little bit difficult to find the live stream. And I actually don't know what it looks like on a computer screen. I know what it looks like on my phone and tablet here, and sometimes you can go right to a link that says live, and you will see the only live stream that I have going right now, which is this one. Otherwise, well, it should show up there in my activity, probably near the top, I would hope, if YouTube is doing the right thing. And yeah, it's a little bit delayed, and the delay can vary. Hopefully it's at a minimum this month. I have done a little bit of work to the device that I use for doing the streaming to hopefully alleviate the delay if possible. But that delay does run from anywhere from 1 to about 10 seconds, I guess. But it will mean that you'll be able to hear myself at least, and everybody I can hear pretty well. And I can hear you pretty well too. I didn't look at the signal meter; I was too busy listening. But your audio is very understandable here. And I'll tell you what, Frank, my knee has just today gotten to the point, this happened on Saturday, it's just today gotten to the point where it doesn't hurt anymore, I don't think. I'll find out later at work when I'm walking around on it some more, but it doesn't, just sitting still, it doesn't hurt like the dickens anymore like it did, but it really does itch. I'm not sure how many times I got stung. I felt it 3 times. But if I count the stings on my knee, I can find at least 5 and a bunch of swelling in some other areas. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, and I never did find the wasp. I managed to scramble inside and get my pants off, try and get that wasp out of there because I couldn't seem to smash it otherwise, and I never did find it, but I seem to have gotten rid of it at that point. One other thing I had here written down to talk about, which not really a topic or anything, but on the subject of musical instruments. My son had his 5th birthday recently, and he has been asking for an accordion, and I did find one that's his size. It's very difficult to find small accordions that are serious instruments, and this one is kind of borderline. It very much looks like a toy, and it does play like a real accordion, like a very cheap real accordion. And the cheap part of it is in the build quality. Some of the keys, they rub together, so when you push one key, you get 2. And one of these days, I'll pop it apart and see if I can file down the plastic on the keys. But otherwise, I forgot what else I was going to say about that now. So anyway, we're at the bottom of the list again. And let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. We might have light turnout here tonight with the good weather. Frank, I wonder if you saw any northern lights or anything last night. My wife had been looking forward to that, and I read a little blurb about it. I did not see anything on my drive to work, but it would be very difficult for me to see anything. There's too many lights around where I have to go. And I didn't look to see if there were any reports on what happened, but I guess they were predicting a G2 class storm. So Frank, W9JCC, it's your turn again from KC9UDX.
Okay, thanks, Matt. And I went into the YouTube stream there when you turned it back to me the last time there, Matt, and all I heard was myself talking, and this was a little bit after I had turned it back, so the delay was quite long. I don't know how long it was, but a little longer than normal. And yeah, as far as going on roofs and stuff, I kind of gotten out of that lately. I did get up on the patio roof here last year, but it was just, it's pretty low and flat, so it was pretty safe deal. But I don't go up there anymore. We had a guy come over and do some bad abatement here. Oh gosh, must have been 6-8 months ago. And he left a tube up there, and I want him to take it down. He said he would take it down. I called him a couple of times now, and he's still hasn't come over to pull the tube out and plug the hole. And yeah, fine on the accordion for the 5-year-old. I'm not too familiar with those, but yeah, I would think that a small one for a young person like that would be pretty hard to find, a good quality one. And I did not see the northern lights. I have seen spectacular northern lights when we used to take the Boy Scouts up to the Boundary Waters, and nice and clear up there, and boy, you could just lay on a big old rock along the lake and look straight up and and uh, and observe the lights. That used to be a lot of fun. I had a interesting thing. I bought a one of these fitness trackers, a very economical one, but very feature laden. I think it would compare to $150 to maybe $250 Fitbit for about $30, $29.95, made in China, of course. And it's supposed to work on my phone. We had loaded the app. The app loaded real well. But as soon as I try to use the app, it would immediately disappear. It would come up and within a half second go back. And I mean, we've been through the up and down gamut on that one. I talked to Apple and everybody. They said, well, the last resort might be to call China or call the guy that wrote the thing. And so, of course, it was in China. There's a place you can look on the app to get the phone number. And the only number I found on the app was that was readable was the number, which I thought was a phone number, and everything else was in Chinese. So I took the number, and I think it was yesterday. You still copying there, Matt?
Yeah, you just dropped off after you said yesterday.
Okay, I don't know if I let off the mic. That's happened before. I might have just let off the mic. But anyway, I got their number and I got on Skype because I didn't have long distance to that part of the world and gave them a call. Of course, first time I called them a little early in the morning for them, probably around 7:30 their time, and I got this Chinese gal on an answering machine that I could not understand a single word. And so then I waited a few hours to call them back, and a gal actually answered, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. I think it was probably hello in Chinese, and she didn't hang up on me. I tried to, mention the name of the app I was interested in, and if she spoke English and so forth. And so after a while, the line was still open. So it took about 5 or 10 minutes, and finally a gal came over that spoke just a little bit English, and we managed to get her email address, and figured we'd communicate that way. It would be a little bit easier. So we did get a couple of emails exchanged there. So we're still working on it. But anyway, we'll find out here the next day or two if we send that thing back or or we get it fixed. Anyway, I guess I've been rambling along enough on this one, Matt. Back to net control, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. No problem on the rambling at all. We got plenty of time here. And in my past dealings with people in China, I'm actually kind of shocked that they would even speak to you at all. But I guess anything for $1. And I hope you get that resolved, although I guess I'd be surprised if you do. Of course, like you said, you can always send it back. And it's very frustrating when stuff like that doesn't work. I certainly know that. I have more than my share of frustrations with computers and things these days. And I'm sorry to hear about the YouTube delay. I guess this is something totally out of my hands. I've done everything I could possibly think of to try and alleviate that, and it doesn't seem to have improved. So I guess that's just going to have to be what it is. And I don't know too much about those Fitbit type things. I know a lot of my coworkers have them. And I used to know some people who had some things that maybe they were Fitbit, maybe they weren't about 10 years ago. But I never really paid too much attention to that stuff. I tried out somebody's pedometer one time at work, and I rolled over the numbers on it. Walking around so much at work in one day. Other than that, as far as accordions go, I can play them a little bit, Well, not very much, mostly because I'm terribly out of practice. I'm very out of practice with music in general. Uh, and I kind of can't imagine how somebody could start out, especially so young, playing an accordion. But he's going to give it a try, so we'll see how it goes here. Before we even start really playing with the accordion too much, I've got to teach him how to keep time. To me, that's the most important fundamental there is in music. So until he can keep time, then we're not going to spend too much time learning the accordion. Although I have had him playing around with it just to get familiar with it. And after I bought this cheapy one, I actually found a really nice one, a small one, at an antique store. Now I don't remember if it was the one on Main Street here in Waukesha or if it was one on Racine Avenue. Uh, but I purposely left it there because there was no price tag on it, and I have a feeling that if I asked about it, then the price would go up. It's a pretty notable model. It's a Hohner Student model. Hohner is the brand, Student is the model, and it's a little bit bigger than this one, so it might not be appropriate for him yet. But that's exactly the kind of thing I would like to get my hands on here sooner or later. And of course, now that he's got that, my daughter wants to play one too. So maybe if I can find one like that, she can learn to play it. She is a pretty phenomenal musician. I don't know if you've seen it on my other YouTube channel. I'm teaching her guitar, and she's actually very good. And she tends to pick up other instruments and be able to play them too, like I kind of do. So I think she's got inherent musical ability, which is good. And Nick, let's see if you're still there, and if you want to give it a try here. Maybe you found the YouTube stream, and maybe you're not hearing me say this yet. It could be a few seconds, but we'll see. K9TNN, I'll give you a good 10 seconds here or more. K9TNN from KC9UDX, go ahead and take a turn. All right, not hearing Nick. Let's see if we have any more check-ins. Anybody else wants to check into the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please.
Whiskey Bravo 9. Bravo, Whiskey Papa.
All right, there's Dave. Thanks for checking in, Dave. Do we have anybody else? All right, WB9BWP, go ahead and take a turn from KC9UDX.
Okay. Good evening there, Matt and Frank and there, I heard. I got down here just a couple minutes ago and tried to get things fired up. I was looking for the YouTube feed just in case I couldn't hear things well. I wonder why I couldn't find anything because I kept typing in Tony's call. You guys got to separate those a little more. But anyway, I heard you talking there about accordions for the kids. Hey, you can put a band together. I don't know if you ever saw or heard of those darn accordions, I think is their official name. For a couple of years, they almost were the house band at Summerfest. I think they were from San Francisco or something like that. Not playing traditional accordion type music. Anyway, let's see. Well, have I done anything special? Oh, Saturday, Frank was at his picnic there with Bill and the boys, and I was down at MATC South for their first annual Fire Police EMS show. Russ, I can't think of his call sign right now. He used to be fire chief in Greenfield. He retired a few years ago from that, and he
took over the program for all of that public safety type stuff down at the school there. And I don't know if it was his idea or who came up with it, but it was open to the public, a big, let's get as many fire and police departments and to come down here and set up stuff and show their wares to the public. And I guess the game plan really is to convince people that might want to go into one of those jobs and go to school and take the program. Anyway, Barry, W9BLS, who has his homegrown communications trailer, but Barry also has restored, I don't know what year it is exactly, it's a Nova, it's a four-door Chevy Nova, but it's Los Angeles County Sheriff's car. And they had a big display of old police and fire vehicles. And so they asked Barry if he wanted to bring his car down, and Barry said, sure, I can do that. And hey, I got this here trailer, and we can show amateur radio too. Of course, we were told about this about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. So anyway, I was down there for that. Weather was good. They ran out of the free food for all the exhibitors. So now there was still free ice cream from the Milwaukee police. Anyway, that's been my, I guess. Oh, I did work one of the Route 66 stations last night. Not necessarily on purpose. I just happened to be at the radios, and I fired up the logging program with spotting running, and I saw all these 1x1 6 calls showing up. It's like, oh, what's that? And I looked it up. It's like, oh, I guess that's going on now. So I made contact with one of those. I don't know how many there are altogether. I don't know if I'll do any more others or not. I just did that one because he was there. I did get a QSL card yesterday from Armed Forces Day test of a few months back. Class band testing, where you contacted military installations. They were transmitting on their frequencies, and we were on ham frequencies. And I guess you can expect this from a government agency. The QSL cards are an odd size, so it doesn't fit in my traditional holders, but I had some others that are geared more for photos and that kind of fits in one of those. Anyway, I guess that covers all my ham-type activity here for the last couple of weeks. So, with that, I'll sign it back to that. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I have a couple of odd-sized QSL cards too. I have 50 or more that are all about the same size, and a half a dozen that are oddball sizes. I'm not sure how or why. I don't have any government ones, but like you say, that's something that I guess you would expect from the government. And fine business on running into the Route 66 station randomly like that. That's how I usually end up doing those type of things. I'll turn on the radio just to make sure it still works, and then I'll hear somebody like that and give them a call. And I guess I should do that again one of these days. It's been months. In fact, I think it was 2 weekends ago now, I had to take my HF antenna down so we could burn some brush. Our brush pile got too large and it was too close to my antenna, so I took the antenna down and I successfully put it back up, and it's still there, which is this has got to be the longest continuous run of having an HF antenna I've had, and probably the longest run of not using it too, which kind of stinks, but that's how it goes for me. I just plain don't have time to do those kind of things anymore. I really kind of miss the ARRL year-long contest a couple years ago. I managed to get in probably 3 hours of operating every night, but that's something I would not be able to do now. I just can't make time for anything anymore. And fine business on the fire and police show. I guess it must have had better attendance than they expected if you ran out of free food. So that's probably the good side of that, I guess. Unless they just were planning poorly, but I guess that they would have more than they expected. We're at the bottom of the list again. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Hearing none, I will go back to the top of the list. Oh, before I do that, I was going to mention on the band that you were talking about, Dave. Now I forgot the name of it, but I have heard of that band, but I don't think I've ever heard them play. And you mentioned that they don't play traditional accordion music, and that's, I guess, one of the problems with the accordion is that it has a very strict set of music that is, I guess there's a stigma about it. People expect you to only play waltzes and polkas, and I guess that's pretty much limited to this country. Outside of this country, there's other types of classical music and popular music that are also played on accordions. Accordions pretty much fell out of favor here, but they haven't in other places, and I think that's probably the reason why only older type of music is expected to be played on accordions here. I will of course play some polkas because you almost have to, but I also like to play classical type music. Of course I don't get time to practice anymore, so none of that gets really done anymore, but that's the way it is. Anyway, let's go back to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt, and good evening, Dave. We hear you, Dave. Not real strong, but copying you pretty good. And as far as the fitness trackers go, I have a Fitbit that's called a One. It's still, I think, probably the cheapest one. My son gave it to me a couple of years ago, and it's very accurate as a pedometer. I actually counted steps on over a mile walk, and it came within a handful of counts to what I counted. Like out of about 2,500 counts, I only probably missed 5 or 6, so it was pretty darn good, I thought. And yeah, the instruments, our kids all played an instrument. My oldest son played the French horn. He played in the North High School band. Younger son played the tuba, and he played in the North band as well. My daughter played the piano, and we still have that here. I'm still trying to get it over to her house, but it hasn't moved in a long time. And now the grandkids are starting to pick it up. One of my grandkids plays the violin and is pretty good at it. I think she got to play with one of the bigger orchestras there in Milwaukee on one occasion. So she's progressed quite nicely on that. Yeah, fine on the police car thing. I think you said that was Gary TOF that brought the police car down there. So that's I didn't know he was into that too. I think he does a lot of restoration of old organs and TVs and so forth. So anyway, I did not. I'm not sure if we worked any of those Route 66 stations or not. I had somebody. No, I don't think so. We had a special event station coming on us on Sunday, but that was out in Massachusetts, so I'm guessing that's not Route 66, since I think that started down around St. Louis somewhere. So anyway, back to net control, KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And I too have worked those Route 66 stations, not this year, not in not in probably 3 years or more. In fact, I know which transceiver I was using, and it is not operational right now. I really wish, that's one of those things that, again, I really wish I could get to repair the power supply on that. By the time I repair the power supply, nothing else in the transceiver is going to work again. So the amateur with the police car is, I guess, Barry with a B, W9 Bravo Lima Foxtrot, not Gary W9 TOF, I don't think. But I wouldn't be the slightest bit shocked if Gary had an old police car too. I haven't talked to Gary in ages now, and we were supposed to do something here when it first got warm out this year, and I guess we're running out of time to do that too. And I don't know. I've got to get a hold of him and see what's going on with that. And as far as the piano, I know what you mean. It's very difficult to move a piano, not just because they're hard to move, but it's very difficult to. I'm not sure what the right way to say that is, but it's just difficult to get them moved. Um, they tend to sit in one place for a long time because people don't have the interest to actually move them. My parents bought a console piano when I was, I think, 5 years old, and I took professional lessons in that for about 10 years. I actually got very good at it. I don't play it so well anymore, and I don't have a piano here. That's my own stubbornness, I guess. I'd like to have a grand piano, and I just plain don't have room for that. I had an opportunity to get that console piano. It may have gone in the trash or something by now. I'm not sure whatever happened to it. I know that my parents wanted to get rid of it when they moved to Florida, and I don't know where it went from there. So it's probably gone, never to be seen again. I guess it's just me being stubborn. I never liked that piano, which is very ungrateful of me, I guess. I just don't like console pianos. So if I get one, it's got to be a grand. Although in recent years here, I've been kind of warming up to the idea of one of these digital pianos. The weighting on those keyboards is actually getting very, very good. And one of these days, maybe I will replace one of the silly Yamaha keyboards I've got with one of those digital pianos. And next we have Dave, WB9BWP. It's your turn again from KC9UDX.
Okay. Yeah, the guy with the car is Barry, W9BLF, which happens to be his initials. Barry's one of those guys that I find out just recently, like the last couple of years or something. We actually went to high school together. Of course, didn't know each other then. And, you know, so when I had to go and look him up, and, oh yeah, that's what he looked like then. I've actually come across a couple of other hams over the years that, oh yeah, I remember, those other guys knew me, but I never knew them. But it's like, yeah, remember we went to high school together. Really? Okay. Anyway, I got a piano story here too. When we bought this house, there was this old upright in the basement. It looked kind of beat up, but I hadn't touched it. And I remember I think before closing was done and stuff, I get a call from the guy that owned the house. It's like, yeah, you know that piano in the basement? I said, yeah. Do you mind if we leave it there? I said, yeah, I don't care. He goes, oh, well, how much did you pay for it? I said, no, you want me to pay for it? No, I'm not going to pay for it. If you want to leave it, I don't care, but I'm not going to pay for it. They didn't take it, they left it, and it turned out at least half a dozen keys, of course, in the middle of the keyboard didn't really work. It didn't work. So it was like, oh, great. Tried using it a few times, but it's kind of hard to do when some of the more popular notes aren't there. So eventually we smashed it up, believe it or not. That was the easiest way to get it out of here, especially since it was in the basement. Let's see. That band I was talking about was called Those Darn Accordions, I think was their official name. It was like 4 or 5 people in the band, 3 accordions. I think it was 3 accordions, a bass and drums. They played Led Zeppelin songs and a few other things like that. It were interesting. And for a couple of years, they did Summerfest like every other day kind of thing at Summerfest. But I haven't seen them in the listings for a few years. So I don't know if they're still together or not. And I'm not sure how they ever found them. But like I say, it was quite an interesting outfit. I had clarinet lessons when I was a kid. I was pounding around on a semi-toy organ, so I was actually learning music a little bit. And I did the recorder thing in school, which they had everybody do at the time. And then somehow they deemed me worthy to participate in an actual grade school band. It was between two different grade schools in Milwaukee. And as a result, I was able to rent an instrument for almost nothing. It was just a couple dollars. But then when it came time to go to junior high, I really didn't want to take band. I wanted to take woodshop. And so the deal was, well, if you're not going to take band, we can't give you this cheap rental. So too bad. And that was my formal training then stopped at that point. And I keep wanting to get back to things. But as you, Matt, you know, I've got a lot of things on the list for that. Maybe someday. Anyway, let's see. I guess that covers everything on my notes here. So I'll throw it back to you. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I guess I would encourage you to pick up any kind of old musical instrument you can. Although I know if you don't have any time like I don't, then it doesn't do you any good. But at least the thought is there, and eventually you get around to doing something, I suppose. I've been in several different bands in the past, and I always kind of wish I could do that again. But even back then, it was difficult finding somebody that you could be in a band with that took it seriously. Most people that you can find that will join up with somebody who isn't already accomplished, just all they want to do is goof around. And I never appreciated that. You mentioned you mentioned a toy organ, and I'll tell you what. When I was a kid, I had bought a bunch of those plastic reed organs at rummage sales, and I always wonder whatever happened to those, and I regret not keeping track of them. Those were actually decent instruments, and they're actually quite valuable now, I guess. So I wonder if you had something like that. These things, they maybe had 2 octaves, and they had chord buttons like an accordion. And they had a little blower in them, and of course they were reed organs. And something else I was going to comment on here. Oh, I was going to say that, just for a matter of practice, it's tempting for me to take a guitar to work, to play in my spare time at work. I'm trying to teach my daughter guitar, of course, and she has surpassed my abilities right now, which is very, very frustrating. I can't show her how to do something if I can't play it myself. And that's only because I'm terribly out of practice. And that's why I wish I might do it at some point here, just probably buy another cheapy one and take it to work. Anyway, we're at the bottom of the list again. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, hearing none. I was gonna tell another story about like your piano story, Dave, with somebody else who abandoned one like that. But I'll spare you guys that one. We'll go to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC. It's your turn again from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And yeah, I know what you mean about the pianos. Nobody really wants to move one. And ours is in super good shape. It's an upright, the kind that you don't care for there, Matt, but the daughter didn't play on it too many, I think just a couple of years, maybe 1.5 years, and she gave up on it. She played also the clarinet, but that went by the wayside as well. And for me, I don't play anything. I even had trouble mastering the tonette. I couldn't even play that in the third grade. So I couldn't sing and I couldn't play instruments. So that whole part of life has kind of escaped me. I kind of wish I had been able to do better at that. Because I think from what I hear, playing an instrument is pretty good for you. But I never got good at that. Yeah, sorry I got very misplaced there with Gary, and I didn't know Gary had an old police car, so I was kind of curious about that. And anybody interested in that Brewers game? They're losing 2-0 in the sixth, and they may have several errors along the way to let those runs score. So that's too bad. Anyway. I don't have a whole lot more. I'll turn it back to net control. KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And you know, it's never too late. You can get certain instruments for very cheap. You know, a guitar is the most popular instrument of choice these days. So guitars are cheap. You can get a halfway decent guitar for very, very low cost, and you can get some pretty good books to learn how to play them. But there's other instruments too, of course, you can get on the cheap, and just something to tinker around with, I guess. I was going to say something else here now, and I forgot. My mind is going here tonight. I've had a very long day, even though I didn't work today as long as I normally do at work. I only worked an 8-hour day, but I had a lot of stuff going on here at home. So I'm starting to forget I'm starting to lose my train of thought here. Of course, before I go back to work here in another half hour. So Dave, WB9BWP, it's your turn again from KC9UDX.
Okay. Well, yeah. Just like with everything else, you know, the Chinese have invaded the musical instrument field also, and you can go on Amazon and find just about any traditional brass or woodwind type instrument for pretty cheap money. I see some of those, I look at that and I go, wow, you know, that's almost tempting, but then I think, I wonder if it actually holds up or anything yet, you know, depending on the quality level. And for other things like guitars and stuff, there's what is their official name? Play It Again Music, I think it is. It's down here by Southbridge. It's not in Southbridge. It's in the shopping center area just to the north of it. And they deal in used equipment, and there's lots of used stuff out there because they've moved like 3 times in I don't know 10 years or so, and each time to a bigger store because they run out of room to hold all their inventory. I go in there every once in a while because all my radio stuff here is rack mount, and sometimes they have rack things like shelves or hardware or, you know, whatnot for very cheap money. And so I'll go in there to see what they've got. And just to look around at everything else, they have a ton of guitars and drums and some electronic keyboards. Anyway, and yeah, it was a reed organ with the buttons that I started with when I was, I don't know, quite small. Didn't really know what I was doing, but you know, I could make sounds that didn't sound real bad. And then, you know, I told the rest of that story there where I moved up. I always remember one guy in the clarinet class that there was always a huge puddle on the floor under his instrument there. It's like, he's got to work on that. And I remember once trying the trumpet, and I just could not get a sound out of that. no matter what I did. So that kind of says, okay, I think we'll stay away from the brass instruments. Anyway, looks like getting close to the time there, so I'll send it back to you, Matt. You can, well, you get some time here, talk. And, at least there's a couple of us here. Out there, I usually announce things when I remember on some of the nets. I see that it doesn't necessarily translate into people. A lot of people say, oh, I got to remember to do that. I got to give that a try. And that's kind of as far as it gets. But, oh, well, I'll just keep rubbing it into them. Anyway, I'll send it back to Ness. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. Music Go Round is the name of that place. I do go there a lot too. We have, I guess well, I don't know if they are anymore. They used to be the largest internet music retailer. Here is a local company, Casio's Music in New Berlin. Those are the two places I go the most. I've spent a lot of money in both places. I bought a lot of instruments at Music Go Round, and I've sold them a few things too. In fact, I sold them some rack hardware on multiple occasions. But that's where I got my resonator guitar. I got my daughter's guitar there, an acoustic. I bought microphones there. I bought stands there, music stands, microphone stands. I don't even remember what all else. I've bought a lot of stuff there. Their prices they're decent. They certainly do make a profit on this stuff. You especially find that out if you sell them anything. But they're not bad. You can find lower prices going on Craigslist or eBay and stuff like that. The difference is though, if you buy from Music Go Round, you get something that's already been gone through, and you get a quality instrument, and it's up to spec. It's not like when you buy on Craigslist or eBay, when you get something that's terribly out of tune, needs new strings, needs parts, got scuffs and dents and damage and things. You usually you kind of get what you pay for when you go to Music Go Round. I'll put it that way. They are a national chain. This is not their only store location here. I don't know how it compares in size to some of the other ones though, but I have been going there long enough to see them expand too. They, like you said, they keep moving into a bigger place every time, which is very good. It's always good to see any business doing that. It's not you don't see that too much of that these days. Mostly places moving into smaller buildings or going out of business completely. Well, we're at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any last minute check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. Hearing none, we will go back to the top of the list for the 7-3 round. Frank, W9JCC, it's your turn. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thanks, Matt. And somebody mentioned the good prices from China there. I just acquired one of these fitness trackers that they're probably selling for about 10 or 15% of what you pay for a name brand one here. Probably made over there in China as well, but I know the Fitbits and some of these of the Apples are quite expensive, but you can get, if you look on Amazon, you can find some that will really do an awful lot and they cost just a small fraction of what some of the others do. I never heard of Music Go Round. The only music store I know of is the White House of Music, because drive by it every now and then when we're going down Moreland there, and also I think when our kids were playing the XYL, used to take them over there and pick up instruments for them at that place. Well, not too much more. I will say 73s to everybody. Good hearing you, Matt, and you, Dave. And I will turn it back to net control. And everybody have a great rest of the week, though. K9, KC9UDX, W9JCC 73.
All right, thank you, Frank. And yeah, the White House of Music is kind of different than these other places. There's another place in the past I've spent an awful lot of money there. I don't even go in there anymore. I always get frustrated when I go there. They have a limited selection of things that they want to sell, and then maybe that's not entirely their fault. Maybe that's all the manufacturers will let them sell. But it always seems to be stuff that I don't particularly want, and well, you know, you go into a place like that looking to buy something, you usually end up buying it anyway, even if it's not exactly what you want. And that's how I've ended up with a handful of cheapy keyboards and things that I really don't like. So I would recommend at least check out Music Go Round. And of course, I'd have to recommend take a look at Casio's Interstate Music too on is it on National? I don't think it's on National. Well, I know where it is. I just can't think of how to describe where it is right now. Anyway, let's see if Nick K9TNN is still there. If you want to go ahead for the 7-3 round, K9TNN from KC9UDX. Not hearing Nick. Dave, WB9BWP, it's your turn on the 7-3 round.
Okay. 73 to you guys. I made it down here, even though it was late, so at least I got here. That was good. Mixed numbers go way up. I don't know, Nick was in here. When I did a few years over at Eaton, when they were still on 27th Street there before they moved out to Menominee Falls where they are now, he was the building electrician, and we had the MRAC repeater on the building for a few years until they threw us all out, and we figured we better get it out of there before they wanted to get rid of the building. They eventually did, nowhere near for the money that they thought they were going to get for it. But anyway, it was handy having a building guy involved with it. That made it a lot easier to get the permissions necessary to put stuff up on top of the roof. And yeah, Casio is on National, just east of Sunny Slope. Let's see. Sunny Slope. Everywhere I want to go, roads are closed this year. Sunny Slope is closed, but Sunny Slope is closed from Beloit. Yeah. 124th Street is closed at National. Anyway, 73 to you guys. Frank, I'll probably talk to you Friday, and if nothing else, Matt, next month. I don't know what your schedule's like, Matt. Superfest is coming up at the end of the month. It's also Maker Faire that same weekend, so we will only have ham stuff at Superfest. And MRAC meeting Thursday right before Superfest. We're going to have the guy from SDR Play, the little black box software-defined radios. He will be at the meeting doing a show and tell on his radio stuff. Anyhow, I'll send it back to you, Matt, and it's good hearing you guys. Good proving that, you know, the radio still works on Jameer's AM. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And the other thing we've been proving for, what, 4 years now? I'm not even sure. Anyway, we've been proving something that a lot of people are always telling me that you just can't have a net on AM on 2 meters. It just won't work. Well, it doesn't work as good as it could, but it does work, and we sure have a good time here. The few of us that are always here. And with roads being closed, yeah, you should see what Waukesha is like. I think I can't even say how many months. It's been at least 6 months that pretty much the whole of Waukesha is all closed down. And I think it's going on 3 months now that the intersection in Menominee Falls at Appleton and Maine has been closed down, which is, I guess I didn't realize how long it's been. That really makes my drive home kind of irritating. And Dave, you brought up something that I overlooked here. Nick had mentioned that he's an electrician where I work. And I thought to myself at first, I know most of the electricians. And I don't know a Nick. But I overlooked the fact that we also have facilities electricians, and I don't even know how many there are. And if that's what he's doing now, like what you say he was doing at Eaton, that would explain why I don't know who he is, and I may have seen him and not even known. But I suppose I will find out here sooner or later. And I guess I really do have to run, so I get to work. So I will say this concludes the 2 a.m. net. Feel free to rag chew on this frequency after my transmission. We will meet again on the 9th of October. Until then, this is KC9UDX. Frank and Dave, thank you for being here. It's, like I said, always good conversation. 7-3 and good night from KC9UDX.